Yo, sup, traders, how y'all doing? I know y'all can barely see me here. It's late at night. I'm not gonna put the studio lights on me. I'm gonna hide up here in the corner. But we're gonna talk about the crypto market and why I took longs at Bitcoin and ETH, what my plan my plan is. So you guys know that I was short the alt market. And you can see here is the others, which is the crypto market excluding the top 10 coins, and you can see how we did break this major trend line. We dropped under the 200 EMA, SMA, we dropped under the 100 SMA, and we've had this decline. And I haven't been short since the top, but I was short since, which day did I go short? Yeah, the 10th. So the day that we broke the trend line here, this day, the 10th, this is the day that I've been short since. And yeah, I talked about how I think this cycle is different from past cycles. But one thing that's different about this cycle is there's not as much institutional leverage in Bitcoin and ETH in particular. Where in the last cycle, once things started to deleverage, there was Three Arrows Capital, there was Celsius, there was BlockFi, there's Gemini Earn, there was Luna, all this leveraged Bitcoin ETH. And we have the opposite of that now, where we have very little leverage on Bitcoin comparatively, and a lot more spot because of the ETF. So I don't really expect for sharp moves down in Bitcoin and ETH like we had before. And I feel like I'm not even seeing the 1 minute wicks as much slippage and as extreme as they used to be. So I've noticed that during this decline, Bitcoin and ETH have held up pretty nicely. And we haven't gotten a buy signal in Bitcoin and ETH, but to me, this is a buy signal on the altcoin market cap. So that was a good reason to close my shorts. Now, I personally don't want to long altcoins, which is why I'm interested in longing Bitcoin and ETH. But this signal here, we took this monthly calendar low, and I'm premature because we need to close over this. If we close under it, then it isn't. But everybody's getting positioned. It looks kind of good for a close above. And if we look at what this 1 hour candle looked like, that was a major liquidation candle. We'll see the coins that I was trading. I got out of Ohm at a great time. I exited Ohm, beautifully executed right in here. And look, it's V reversed, and look at the massive volume on this 1 hour candle. TON is a little bit weaker, and some of them are stronger, some of them are weaker, but across the board, we're seeing these massive liquidation candles come in, which don't always mark bottoms, but when the whole space is doing it, and there's a lot of forced selling, um, it's a low risk long. I cannot say low risk, but it's a potential long setup. And if we just look at liquidations, I haven't traded liquidations in a while, but in 24 hours, we had 400 million longs wrecked. 400 million longs wrecked. I, I used to trade $100 million liquidation was tradable long. Just in that one candle, there was 200 million longs wrecked. So, um, yeah, when there's a lot of forced selling, it's a good opportunity, right? Let's also look at the funding rate. Uh, the funding rate for perpetual futures, which is what I trade, which is still a pretty good indicator. It looks like it went positive again. It's neutralized, but it did go negative for a little bit there on the bottom, which is rare and is also usually a buy signal. So we have a couple buy signals. Now, if we look at Bitcoin and ETH, okay, yeah. So now let's look at the other charts too. So if we look at others, we look at total three also giving a long signal. Um, altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and ETH, we're getting the signal, which is yes, we had a trend line break, but we got to move down from the trend line, and we have a uh, old monthly low, which is actually, and this one is May For others, we actually took the April low and we're back at February prices. Now, again, I'm not necessarily calling for new highs in the altcoin market cap. That's a pretty bearish move. But a couple things to keep in mind. One is if we enter a bear market here, there's still going to be some violent moves up and tradable rallies during that time, potentially. Not that I necessarily trade them with the total three, I trade them with Bitcoin and ETH. They're stronger assets. But also, let's remember what happened in the summer of here, May and June of 2021, where, I mean, it was pretty sleepy for a long time, but look, um, and yeah, it's not a sharp up, maybe not a sharp down, but we can imagine a similar scenario where there's second thrust in the second part of the year, and getting position here might be okay. Now, again, to me, altcoins or shitcoins, they're the worst asset to long. But let's go ahead and let's look at the breadth of assets. Of gold has been trading sideways for a while. And yeah, it's maybe not that far from a long, possible long. The stock market just relentless push up. US 500, US 200. But we did see some green days on the other markets. And I guess it's not just Nvidia. Um, some of the other markets. Yeah, okay. Now let's look at Bitcoin and ETH. And I'll talk about my risk plan for them. So Bitcoin and ETH, look, we're getting long signals or potentially dip buy signals across the space. Bitcoin and ETH aren't giving them, but they also didn't go low enough to take a monthly low, right? Relatively very strong. So while, say, the other space, let's look at Ohm actually. How many straight red days did Ohm have? Although the day is almost going to turn green. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight red days. From peak to trough was a 42% drawdown. Bitcoin had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red days or 5 red days and 3 green days. 6 red days, 3 green days, right? And ETH had in there 4 green days. Just a lot of relative strength in Bitcoin and ETH. And it's not my favorite signal, but I don't like it as much as the monthly. But if we turn on the weekly, a weekly sweep is a decent setup on a bullish asset. And we're seeing that on ETH and on Bitcoin as we took the previous week's low and we went ahead and immediately reacted off that. We're also seeing for both Bitcoin and ETH in this move down here, 1, 2, 3 thrusts down. That's kind of a magic number of the number of moves. ETH as well. ETH is particularly strong where you have 1, 2, 3, and it did take the low each time, but and this is the first one I'm longing. I did not long this one, I did not long this one. And remember, as ETH was doing this, the altcoin market cap was going straight down, and I was short on that. So where are we also on the chart? Not only did we sweep a weekly low, but we're in this huge daily fair value gap where there was a lot of demand and there's a lot of limit orders. And Bitcoin as well. Let's look at Bitcoin. In this daily fair value gap, just poked perfectly into it, took this low right here, and has rallied off of it. So let's talk about risk and stop loss. Now, if I wanted to be very conservative, it would be reasonable to put the stop wide like this and run like it's not even a super wide stop, a 3% stop. Same thing for ETH, we could run them wider. But to me, it makes sense to pick this as a bottom. This was such a big event that putting the stop at the bottom kind of makes sense to me, where if this low goes, this should be a strong low. And if this low goes, I don't necessarily want to long, right? Because it's not a weekly sweep anymore also. So it kind of makes sense to me to actually run the stop tighter and set it right at the lows here. And I'll take a loss if I'm wrong. It's just one trade. So if this is wrong, we'll take a loss. But I like the idea of just setting it at the low. It's not very far away. Um, and yeah, I mean, it creates the possibility of price doing this. Where's the drawing tool? Where's the drawing tool? Right here. I'm losing it right now. Here it is. Price taking the low and then coming back in. But I have the thinking that if we take this low, I maybe don't even want to be a part of this at all, right? So I'm choosing to run my stop tighter. Now I might decide to widen it up, um, but yeah, I like the idea of just that's the invalidation of the trade. The edge is the weekly sweep. It's this exhaustion, relative strength, and it's also, especially for ETH, the possibility of new all-time highs in the year. We haven't made them. We're seeing capital rotate into ETH from Bitcoin. As we see, ETH BTC has had a rally and has bled down, but is holding up. With the idea that there's an ETH ETF coming this year, possibly soon, actually, which would be a big money pipe for um, for ETH, which could do something to ETH and to the space, like what happened when the Bitcoin ETF was approved. So I'm personally even more keen on just trying to get into ETH shorts, or sorry, ETH longs here. I did notice that, what is it? Ethereum Classic, how does that look? It looks terrible. But I wouldn't necessarily want to be sitting in a short here off this huge wick. If we look at ENS, Ethereum name service has been really strong, almost green on the day, giving back a little bit. But yeah, I guess since Bitcoin and ETH didn't have as big a flush, it's possible price can come back down here, but I mean the volume on this was pretty ridiculous. That was ridiculous, especially for the time of day, 4 o'clock. That's comparable volume to 6 a.m. To like the Friday lunch, Wednesday close, right? The volume on that was ridiculous, and it's volume that failed to bring us to a new low. So given all those things, that's why I've taken along here. Um, so my uh the system, where is it? Um, my automated system is not long on Bitcoin and ETH yet, so I am jumping the gun on that. Um, where is it? Takes a while to load sometimes. Uh, where are my settings? My basic settings here. Oh, do I need to restore defaults after that? Close, close, 3.4. Turn this off. This doesn't look Well, I guess, why does this not look right at all right now? Dip buy, close, close, 3.4. That's not the right stop. Okay, let's look at the version 2. Yeah, okay. On ETH, it would actually still be long. So that makes me like it more. And actually, the stop would be right over here. That's for a 3.4 ATR stop, right? A 3. 3.5. Okay. So we would still be long. We would have had a long from this low and then a long on this breakout and still be sitting in it. So that's some confluence, I guess. And we would also still be long Bitcoin, but our stop would be way down here. Um, so yeah, happy trading. This isn't an invitation to copy me, but do you? And then the last thing is my risk management. I took stupid fucking risk on this. Okay. So I'm really trying to parlay this. Um, so we talk about different realities where you can have many realities where you're a winner or realities where when you win, you're a big winner. And I don't consider it gambling to choose the latter, especially when you have edge. So I transferred from my Forex account $10,000 and I threw it in my crypto account, $10,000. And in the first part of the month, my living expenses are like $3,000 maybe. And in the first couple weeks of this month, I made $3,000. I made it through my trading education business. I made it through doing landscaping. I made it through doing tours. And I made it through life coaching. So I'm like, yo, worst case, I if I blow this, I still have money in the other account. And also, I can even add money because I've saved money I've made enough money this month. So I decided I would trade it aggressively. And aggressively means risking 10 to 20% per position, which is what I used to do for prop anyways. Like a 200K account, I'm risking 10 to 20%. Um, yeah, usually 10 to 20% per position. So that 10K account, it drew down to 6.5 thousand. And then on the short, I took it from 6.5 to 20,000. Now at 20,000, I'm risking about 2,000 on each of these. So I'm risking 20% total or 10% per position, right? 2,000 each out of 20,000. So it's super tight. Now if I lose, I'm back down to say 15 and I'm still up 5 from where I started. But if I win, say that I'm able to, my plan for this, by the way, say that I'm able to hold this to all-time highs, it's a 10R. So we make 20 grand on this. This one, say that we hold this to all-time highs. 20 on this, so I make 60,000, right? And turn the 20 into 80. So I turn 6 into 20 and 20 into 80. That's what I'm trying for. And again, y'all could call that gambling if you want, but it is what it is. That's what I'm doing. Now, my plan is I started with really tight stops, and I started with large size. And if we start to move up, I probably won't add, and I probably won't advance either. I want the initial stop to be wide. Sorry, I want the initial stop to be tight and the initial size to be large on this one, and then run a wider stop and run um, not make it as big because I already made it huge to begin with. So, and also because what I'm looking for to add on, I will do an add-on with my computer system would add on at this high and at this high, at an advance. So that would be my plan, is to do nothing until up here, which is actually a 7R, and then at the 7R, add an advance. And then if we take 4,000, add an advance with a target of a new all-time high, at which point I would advance my stop automatically up there. So same concept for Bitcoin, where initially a tight stop, but I'm going to try not to fuck with it or trail it too tight. And then depending on what happens at the highs, I'll for sure be advancing my stop. And if we're able to break any of these highs, add on. And then again, if we break down from here, I'm probably just not even going to take another long and we'll wait for a monthly sweep. So that's my plan and not financial advice. Do you? Happy trading. Much love. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.